There's no doubt that most of the current crop of Formula One drivers started their careers in go-kart racing. And people who haven't raced a go-kart will not understand really the difference between learning how to drive a go-kart and then going into a Formula One car. But today we're looking at indoor go-karting and a way that you can very cheaply get into a go-kart, have some fun and learn how to drive competitively at the same time. And this is the sort of go-kart that people come down to drive. So for as little as about £25 you can actually get out and have a race with some of your friends. So this is probably the best way of actually finding out if you like motor racing or not. And then if you want to take it a step further, you can follow us up through some of the race schools in England, which we'll be doing in future programmes. At the moment we're in Speed Karting's indoor go-kart stadium in Warrington, and I'm with Joe Dean, who's the circuit manager. Well, Joe, what is the best thing to do if you want to come into a go-kart stadium like this?
Well, the first thing to start off with, I suppose, is what we do, arrive and drive, where you just generally turn up and you pay for your laps around the circuit. Available from all years, from 4 years upwards.
And how much is that going to cost you roughly?
Starts at £2.50, and then you can stay as long as you want and pay as much as you want.
So it really is quite a good way of finding out if you can handle the kart and then go on to something else maybe a little bit later on.
It's certainly the cheapest form of motor racing you're going to get.
Right, well, Joe, this is the actual go-kart now. It's obviously a fairly standard chassis. What about the actual engine, though? What sort of speeds can this sort of thing get up to?
Well, we had the radar down about 3 months ago. Down the back straight, bang on 40 miles an hour.
That's very quick, isn't it? This, given the sort of height off the ground you are.
It is. 2 inches off the ground and you feel as though you're low flying.
And obviously with this chassis, it's obviously sort of standard go-kart chassis, but I understand you had quite a lot of people saying that it's very, very good for handling.
It's been developed over the years by the particular company that make this one, and over the years, without a doubt, shines above everything else. Really is top quality.
And have you had many people who've come in here, say, as a beginner and actually gone on to racing go-karts or not?
I now go down to the local circuit and probably recognise half the people down there as beginners from our indoor circuit.
So it's quite because obviously people don't realise that the actual characteristics of this go-kart, and I must speak as a journalist here, and the guys I know have gone up through motor racing into Formula One now. Nearly 98% of them have started off in go-karting, so it speaks for itself, doesn't it?
It's a superb stepping stone, and it's cheap as well, so they actually come down, but once they get the bug, once it bites, they've got to go further. It's good racing at this level.
The other question I've got to ask, people ask it of me as well, when you're actually racing these things, you've got maybe 5 or 6 karts in it in a very tight situation. If somebody does take a spin, it's not really that painful, is it? Because if you go over, it's you've got your crash and you've got your overalls. What normally happens on a normal racing night?
Well, that's a killer. A normal racing night, if somebody spins, we have the beauty of having a very wide circuit, as I said earlier on, so you should be able to avoid the spinners in front of you. If there is impact, then obviously the side pods absorb most of the shock. People can get hurt, as motor racing is a dangerous sport, and at 40 miles an hour, if you take a full impact, it can be rather uncomfortable. But most incidents occur on the corners themselves, where the speeds are down to 15, 20, 25 miles an hour, so relatively safe.
But we're only talking about a small percentage of that. It's very unusual to have something like that happen, because most people are aware of what's going on, and they're not all lunatics, are they?
Well, no, they do. Not all. They do have a full safety briefing before they go out on the circuit, and obviously we make everybody aware that we want to keep the event as close to motor racing as we possibly can. They're not bumper cars. They're not designed as bumper cars, as you can see. We know they're not professionals out on the circuit. There's going to be that little bit of contact, but we have to run a safe, tight ship, and that's what we aim to do.
And of course, the big difference about this sort of type of indoor sport is the fact that you're really out on your own. Once you've actually been through that briefing session, you're actually driving the car, you haven't got an instructor with you. And unlike some of the other racing schools we'll be looking at, you're entirely free to do what you want.
Well, within the rules and regulations, yes. They tend to wait till a faster driver goes past them. They'll latch onto the back of that driver and follow them round. If you could close your eyes after practice laps and open them again, 20 minutes later, once they're into the second, third round of racing, totally different drivers. The speeds increase, the actual ability of the driver comes out, and you get some really good close racing.